Today I'm taking a new approach to Moneyball and rebuilding a fallen giant. We're going to Italy Serie B, taking over mighty Sampdoria, and we're doing it based around a tactic that includes advanced centre-back. Currently in real life, Sampdoria are really struggling down at the bottom of Serie B, but as it stands, after a similar amount of games in Football Manager 26, I've managed to get them on top. So then let me show you how we've done that and what we're going to do with the team going forward. Okay, so I took over Sampdoria. Season preview told me they were a decent team, sitting in 4th position, so real life football, they're doing way worse than they should be. As I mentioned in the intro, there we sit, top of Serie B, only 3 defeats, 10 points clear. Now, slowly but surely, they've got into this way of playing that I've got adapted to them, and they've scored 40 times, only conceding 16. Now, the way we set up could be seen to be pretty adventurous. If I just pause it there, you can see it looks like we've got a back three, right? Wing backs, quite narrow going forward. But when the game gets going and we start to attack, there is one man left back, and he, believe it or not, is not a defender. He's a midfielder. Now, this approach can be fraught with danger, however, because if you lose the ball, then opposition strikers a lot of the time have a clear run on goal. But when it clicks like it has done for us, the results have been pretty spectacular, including beating Atalanta in the Coppa Italia away from home. Now, I did mention Moneyball. That's going to be a huge part of building this squad and getting the right players for the right positions as we zone in on certain roles. Because when I look to sign players, I'm really going to focus on a couple of key roles in this interesting looking tactic. As you can see, we have double advanced centre-backs with a half-back sitting in front of those. Now, in the clip I showed you, the man at the back was the half-back, so when the ball progresses, the advanced centre-backs sprint past him, and he's the one who drops back to provide the last line of defence. And in the out-of-possession setup, he stays where he is, so when we lose the ball, he stays there, and the two advanced centre-backs have to get back in line with him. So let me introduce you to the Sampdoria way. This is the way we're going to approach this save. First off, as I've said, we're going to use advanced centre-backs. Next, they're going to be in combination with a half-back. I want a striker who's also capable of playing as a midfielder, so he's a good link man to all the runners. I'm also going to continue to use this right-hand side combination of a wing-back, a channel midfielder, and an inside forward. It seems to work really well, and I love this little combination. We will also use the 3 tactic slots for 3 different approaches. This is the base tactic. It is still attacking mentality, but that is the base tactic. We have an attacking version where the 2 attacking midfielders push up a little bit more, and a defensive version for the last 5 minutes of certain matches where the balanced mentality comes in and one of the advanced centre-backs drops to a ball-playing centre-back. Simple. In all 3 tactic slots, the out of possession stuff stays the same, so they get used to it nice and simple. The next thing we're going to do throughout this journey, and I've started it already, is retrain some players. For the advanced centre backs, I want to use midfielders. For halfback, I want a centre back to play as halfback. So at the minute, I've got Stipe Vulikic playing as my halfback. He is a centre back by trade. You can see he's now slowly getting used to a half-back position. That's because from day one, when I identified him as the player I wanted to use, I started to retrain him as my half-back. Next up, I want defensive midfielders to play as my advanced centre-backs. We've done the same as we did with the half-back, where we took a defensive midfielder, and in this instance, it's Oliver Abildgaard. He looked perfectly suited to the role, a 6'4" defensive midfielder. Now he's pretty competent playing at centre-back as an advanced centre-back. That's because from day one, when he was identified as the player, I have retrained him to be my advanced centre-back. You want a midfielder to play there because they're going to spend most of their time higher up the pitch, so he needs to be good on the ball and more of a midfielder. And that is going to be the philosophy for this Sampdoria story. Let's have a quick recap of that. So we're going to use advanced centre-backs. We want a striker with midfielder qualities. We're going to use the 3 tactic slots, defence, hold and attack when needed. We'll use a centre-back at half-back, and we'll use midfielders at centre-back. We're also going to use Moneyball to recruit for those vital positions. So at the halfway point of the season, some of the key player and player roles have already started well. Up front, Pedrola is playing as my striker. He's normally an attacking midfielder, but he has bagged 0.6 goals per 90 already, outperforming his XG. So he's more of an attacking midfielder, and it shows in his attributes such as flair, but he's playing up front for me as my central striker, doing a good job. I would like to see a bit more creativity, but that might be tough because the player role I've chosen at the minute is centre forward. If we were to change that to false 9 or deep lying forward, those metrics might change, but he might not be as lethal in front of goal. In terms of the guys playing as advanced centre backs, the key thing I really need from them is progressive passes. I want them to progress the ball because they're going to be in the DM slot. They're both winning the ball back at a decent rate, 9 and 11.4. I'd expect that to be higher than the guy who's playing at halfback. So what I'm looking for from him is a good pass percentage completion rate. I don't want him to give the ball away. As with the advanced centre-backs, a good progressive passes per 90 will be handy. Interceptions don't need to be massively high because he's sitting back. I don't want him to commit to intercept. Having said that, I would like clearances, so I'm going to add a column. Simply right-clicking, insert column, go down to stats, down to tackles and interceptions. I'm going to select clearances per 90 minutes because then I know he's doing his job back there. Basically, with these 3 roles, I'm looking for the best of both worlds in terms of a defensive midfielder and centre-back. Now, for my wing-backs, I want them to be one of the main creative threats, so I'm looking for assists, crosses and dribbles. And defensively, I'm going to look for pressures attempted per 90 minutes as well, purely because these 3 won't be doing that. He'll be dropping back and these 2 will be too busy concentrating on getting back. Now for these 4 positions, the channel midfielder, the central midfielder, the wide forward, the inside forward, we're looking for a bit of an all-round attacking performance. Assists per 90, goals, shots on target, dribbles, chance creation, key passes, all things I'll be looking for. So now we know the save philosophy, let's get down to it. The halfway point of the season brings about that point in the game where we do look for players out of contract. And I've been a bit slack recruiting my scouts. I need to get them in ASAP to start getting those amazing results we know we can find. Currently I've got 4 scouts, but they are all of Italian nationality. And the scouting knowledge is kind of stuck to Italy, so I need to get a bit inventive here. Time to find some scouts with a bit of worldwide knowledge. So once I'd had a clear out of the Italian scouts, I brought in some worldwide ones, including Ibrahim Ba. He's going to cover France, Senegal, Belgium, Spain and the Ivory Coast. I had the new chief scout in Neves, who's going to cover Portugal, Brazil and many other countries. Suleiman Assise covers all the rest of Africa. And John Vick will be vital as my Scandinavian scout. So now I can create these recruitment focuses, and I've got to remember though, of the non-EU rules in Italy, I need to be picky when approaching some players. And finally, of course, I'll be checking out players whose contracts are expiring in 6 months' time. Be interesting to see who we can get. The second half of the season continued where we left off, and Riccio here, playing as one of the advanced centre-backs, just completely lost his mind and decided to turn into prime Ronaldinho. We actually did pretty well in the Coppa Italia as well, getting to the quarterfinals, getting knocked out by Capitolini Celesti? Yeah, that's Lazio. That reminds me to get my name fix sorted again. That's better. And as far as the league went, the second half of the season was pretty much like the first. We only dropped off at the back end of the season, but there was a good reason for that. That's because in this match against Empoli, which we won 2-0, we sealed promotion back to Serie A. After that, I think the boys partied a bit too hard and lost 3 out of the last 5 matches, but we had done enough to seal the title despite a late surge from Monza. And you know what, we deserve it as well, because we're the joint top scorers and we've got the best defensive record as well. So Sampdoria back in Serie A. Now we used the 3 versions of the tactic. There's the whole tactic there, there's the original tactic there, very slight changes, and obviously the attacking version as well. And the tactic did all the hard work because we didn't bring anybody in January, but we have managed to build a shortlist, and I do have some coming in ready for the new season. There is 5 or 6 players here, and a lot of them will be more backups or Serie B standard, such as Rafael Celia. Now, attribute wise, he looks Serie B standard, doesn't he? He's a left wing back, but the positives are for his team this season, he was second in terms of assists per 90, and he gave 9 crosses per match, so he will be a good backup and he can compete for the left back slot. And the 2 players that will compete for the advanced centre-back slot, and yes, they are midfielders. The first is Afiz Arumu, who is a Nigerian playing in the German football with Kaiserslautern. Natural midfielder or defensive midfielder, but he can also just about jump in at centre-back. Let's call him Anton Logi from Iceland. Again, natural midfielder or defensive midfielder, a little bit more accustomed to playing as a centre-back. He's got the physical attributes to do so at 6'2", and he even managed to score 4 goals in the Champions League qualifying campaign this season. So he's good on the ball, so he might be an option. Key thing to remember with all these free transfer signings are that I signed them as a Serie B team, so they're probably that level. Now, as I look to my squad, I can see that I've got around 10 players that are coming out of contracts, but the good news about that is that only 2 of them have been playing. So I've took that into account when planning for the new season. You can see the gaps in the team. These are the key positions I'm looking to recruit in. All these remaining players did pretty well in their roles. I've got a couple of decisions to make though. Inside forward Simone Pafundi is on loan from Udinese. Now he's done really well. He's got 16 goals and 11 assists from that position. To go alongside his goals and assists, his overall player metrics have got me kind of tempted to try and make this move permanent. For example, even being an inside forward, he's still giving me 10 crosses per match. That's exceptional. Add that to the key passes and his assist ratio was 0.3, which is really good from that position. And he's giving me striker-esque numbers and goals when it's 0.5. So the decision to make is this. He's on a loan contract, Now, under the loan contract agreement, the optional future fee is 4.3 million. Don't get me wrong, I do think he's worth it, but that would blow my entire transfer budget. This is a tricky one. Elsewhere in the team, Pedrola, the midfielder who now plays up front, did fantastic with 21 goals in 42 matches. So while I decide whether to blow all that money on one player, at least my scouts have been supplying some decent results. But now we're a Serie A team, so I've got a busy summer ahead of us. Okay, a decision was made. As much as I love Simone Profundi, we just can't blow that amount of money on one player. Instead, I've bid 2.8 million for David Bragantini from Mantova. Now that is still a big outlay for such a young player, but he's the best player in Serie B. So not only is he the best player in terms of average rating from 31 matches, but he is the best creative player in the league. Top of assists with 16, which translates into assists per 90 minutes of 0.59, so basically 0.6. He has the most key passes per 90 minutes at a huge 3.39, which in turn means he created the most chances in the league. So a great player for the future. He's cost me 2.8 million triggering his release clause, but I think he'll be worth it. We tied up a move for Tunisian midfielder Mohamed Wild Dabali, a scout pick. Pretty good all-round midfielder, 6'2", good physical presence. I won't lie, I've got half an eye on him. Maybe becoming an advanced centre-back. For his team in Tunisia, he sat top with 0.5 assists per 90 minutes, and he's only costing me 275,000. With all these transfers going on, I don't want to do too much because we did have an outstanding season with some players setting records. Also keep an eye on your loan players that are out because Totino is out and he's setting records at the club he's with. And he's our player, so as long as they don't make that move permanent, he is the striker that can also play midfielder, so that will give us an extra option. It was probably no surprise to see that the season preview for our season back in Serie A wasn't pretty at 700 to 1. At least the board were being realistic, asking me just to avoid relegation. As we clicked into the new season, 10 signings were confirmed. The latest was 1.2 million on 20-year-old Aldin Jakupovic. He fills that remit of a midfielder who can also play a striker. Really good attributes for such a young age. Last season he scored 10 times in the Slovenian top division. With the new players into the team, I'm just lacking that one position, that left wing back. Other than that, I'm pretty happy. But I reckon we're about 95% set for our return to Serie A. And the only goal is, of course, to survive. So we got into the season and we actually picked up a couple of wins and crucially ones against teams in and around us. There was that victory against Udinese, we also beat Cremonese, Sassuolo and Bologna. But that was the highlight though because we've just lost 7 out of our last 8 matches. So come December time, we're struggling a little bit in 16th. Now, I'm not saying this run has anything to do with the fact that Sports Interactive updated Football Manager halfway through this season. Yeah, I am. So it's not been great, but thankfully one of the Moneyball signings has paid off. David Bragantini has been fantastic, scoring 7 goals in Serie A so far. But it's pretty clear we're going to have to make some tweaks to this tactic just to make sure we can survive. To help us in the second half of the season, I've tied up a free transfer of Nathan Santos, a Brazilian from Santos. So Santos from Santos will help us out as a wing-back because he goes crossing crazy and he dribbles like a winger as well. So highlights of the second half of the season, well, they were pretty few and far between, but there was this game against Monza. They got promoted with us from Serie B last season, so it's a team that we should look to beat, and thankfully we got our best victory of the season. Since then we have picked up a couple of wins, but there's a lot of defeats in there, and as it stands we are in the relegation zone with 5 matches to go. Now we do play Como next, and the run-in is not too bad. We've played all the big teams, and in what is likely the clutch match we beat Como 3-1. Then we lose to Bologna, draw against Torino, we do beat Cagliari, but in the final match of the season against bottom of the table Cremonese, not only did we give away a penalty on the 48th minute, but he sends off Riccio, leaving us to 10 men, and in the 88th minute we blow it. We lose 3-2 and are relegated back to Serie B. And the fans are really happy about it. Look, it can't all be glory in this Football Manager life. It's fair to say the squad didn't have the greatest time of it. Probably unsurprisingly, the best player was experienced midfielder Liam Henderson, but nothing massive stands out. Bragantini did well but did fade as the season went on. But the good thing to think about is the players we brought in last summer should be higher standard than Serie B, so let's bounce right back. And I need to use this season in Serie B to find a different version of this tactic and one that will work in Serie A if we can get back up. Now the one thing we've got going in our favour here is our recruited for Serie A. These players should blitz Serie B, right? The good news was the board had not lost faith, giving me a new contract and chucking 11 million at me. But the brutal facts are my signings failed in Moneyball. I'm going through the boys here and I'm trying to find a success story, and the brutal facts are that there isn't really one. But some of them are going to have a big season this season. I do have high hopes for Aldin Jakupovic. He scored 9 in Serie A. So largely I'm keeping faith with last season's squad. I am bringing in a couple of players from the scout recommendations. And there's also Kousse Matcha from Tunisia, who we signed last season and sent back out on loan. And as you can see from his attributes, he's a dribbling machine and he's going at 7 dribbles per match. He cost me 350,000. Hopes were high going into the new season as we were ranked third favourites to go up, but this is a Moneyball save, and in true Moneyball style, we have sold one of our players, Fabio Diapaulo. Good first season with us. He was pretty average last season in Serie A, so I was happy to take 3.4 million from Hellas Verona. And they also stole Vulikic off me. Triggered his release clause. Gutted about this because we'd successfully retrained him to be my halfback, so someone else is going to have to jump in there now. But I replaced him with the signing of Justin Omareji from RB Salzburg for the massive sum of £650. No, I kid you not, £650. He didn't play much last season, but his progressive pass level was good and he looks like a perfect halfback, or retrain him to be that advanced centre-back. So I think this will be the man to watch this season. This is Matcha, who we just signed from Tunisia. Now in this current setup, he's lining up as a wide forward. It's a very, very fluid 4-3-3. Let me pause it there so you can see what I mean. When I change the camera angles, you can see there's my halfback, and I'm gone with 2 advanced centre-backs in this very fluid 4-3-3. Here's Matcha down the right-hand side, and he supplies 2 assists in this one, the opening game of our brand new season. There's the 4-3-3, looks pretty basic until you really look closely at it. Those 2 advanced centre-backs storm forward, leaving the halfback and one of the defenders to sit back, and when we attack, we've got a front 5. And that front 5 were a huge part in us claiming Serie B and bouncing back to Serie A at the first time of asking. There was many key players involved, including those ones we highlighted, such as Matcha, Omareji, and some new signings as well. And check these boys out. So I keep talking about Matcha, the young Tunisian. This goal here kind of sums up his ability as he gets the ball, drops the shoulder, teases the opposition, and just whips it into the back of the net. He's a bit of an all-round forward and perfect for that wide forward role with 0.4 goals per game, key passes at a whopping 3.8 per match, and assists right up there at 0.4. Another big success had been the midfielder we brought in from Salzburg, Omareji, who we've converted to be an advanced centre-back. Here you can see him starting to move off, driving forward, and as the move progresses, he will be the man on the edge of the box, and check this out. We made a couple of signings to great effect during the season. Jan Sturm came from PSG. So here's a player that was on my shortlist from his loan spell in the 3rd tier in Germany, where he was fantastic. Then my scouts reminded me of him, but he was just playing for the 2nd team. But at a cost of 375,000, it was a no-brainer, especially when you see what he's given us. 13 goals, 8 assists in 29 matches. He's formed that great midfield partnership with Dybala. And for a channel midfielder, those are pretty much perfect numbers. But this season was also a bit of a redemption tale for those failed Moneyball signings from last season, no more so than midfielder Dybala, another Tunisian. There you see him higher up, with the 2 advanced centre-backs moving up into the central midfield positions. It means he can move forward with a bit more freedom, and he turned into my very own Tunisian Frank Lampard, getting into the box time after time and scoring goal after goal. He ends the season with 14 goals and 9 assists from that midfield position. There's also a bit more redemption from some signings such as Afiz Arumu at centre-back. The midfielder played the entire season as an advanced centre-back and hit me with 6 progressive passes per game and 3 interceptions per game as well. In fact, interceptions across the board were pretty handy, and as you can see by the pass completion percentage, we didn't give the ball away much, which showed in the team stats as we had the most goals, the most possession, the most shots for, and the most clean sheets in a season, which gave us a league title only losing 3 times. Scoring 72 and only conceding 30, it was a great way to bounce back. Now if you look at the tactic, it's very narrow based when we get into the attacking phase. The only wide players really are the wide forwards with a bit of support from Nathan, but as we get higher up, they all seem to tuck inside. And that does mean we've completely changed the way we play. We're not really a crossing team anymore. As you can see from crosses attempted, there's only 1 player with 10.1 crosses per match, and that was a sub. The rest of them, it's pretty low. But crucially, when you come to key passes per 90 minutes, these are really big numbers, and that's what we're looking for. We play a lot of the football through the middle, the advanced centre-backs progressing forward, allowing the channel midfielders to roam and attack the box. Overall, it was a stunning bounce back from the boys. The big question is how many of them can do it at Serie A level this time. So we've changed the way we play now. We're more of a tick-a-tacker, pass-to-feet style team with hardly any crosses. So I just need to work out which of the team will be good enough for Serie A and where I need to improve. There are some really good players on my shortlist. Now, some of these I wasn't able to buy when I'm Serie B because you can't get players from outside of the EU when you're not in the top division. So these players here from Tunisia, from South Africa, we weren't able to go for. But someone like Retraining here, who's got 9 goals, 8 assists, from inside forward with all the flair in the world, with a stunning average rating and across the board good data, he could be someone we go for when it clicks over into the new season. And also my scouts are finding some absolute beasts like Mohamed Salih from Raja Casablanca. I mean, look at those attributes. And he's only 18. There are some players from European leagues we can go for a bit quicker, such as Siddiqui Sharif, and the possibility of getting Pafundui back at the club is very tempting. It's just these players cost so much more than these random players that my scouts are finding from elsewhere around the world. So by the time we got to the start of the season, big moves had been made. First off, at advanced centre-back, Tyrese Asante joins the club on a free transfer. Next, on the left-hand side, the inside fullback from the Kaiser Chiefs, Rushwin Dortley, again on a free transfer. 6'4" should be absolutely ideal. Competition for wide forward on the left-hand side, and we did manage to sign Tunisian Retraining for just 275,000. Competition for striker was a free transfer signing of Philip Bungard from Bromby. There was a clutch of other quality signings as well. 1 million was spent on Luka Topalovic, the best midfielder in Serie B last season for Inter Milan's second team. Midfielder or striker Wilson Erstrom, he was the biggest outlay, 2.9 million from Hammarby. Also able to sign some free transfer players that will end up being pretty good squad players. It means I go into the new season with a squad of about 27, which is a good size. And it might be needed because the season preview for us back in Serie A, not kind, 200-1. The only goal this season is to survive. So the season started very much like last season finished, with the advanced centre-backs getting forward. Keep your eyes on Asante at the edge of the box. He's the man who gets on the end of this. So we storm into Serie A and we are determined to keep playing the way we do. And check this out, little back heel, it's a lovely flowing stuff. This is away at Fiorentina, which is a tough match. That's drawing us level. But in away matches, we had to adapt because we were getting overrun. So I brought in a ball-playing centre-back next to the advanced centre-back, making us a bit more solid away from home. That meant only one of the centre-backs was advanced now, but thankfully, I think I've got the ideal guy doing that in Omareggi, and here he is again, scoring from the edge of the box. So we'd had a pretty solid start to the season. There was that away win at Fiorentina, followed by a stunning performance beating Roma. Hopes were high. Down to earth with 3 defeats in a row to Bologna, Napoli, and a heavy defeat to Milan. But we brushed ourselves down and gave our best performance since we joined Sampdoria in the match at home to Inter Milan. The game ends 1-0, but literally it could have been 5 or 6. We were fantastic and that gave me high hopes for this season. We wondered how they would adapt to Serie A. Well, Matcha is a superstar. 3 goals, 12 assists with 0.7 assists per 90. But the big story is Mohamed Will Dybali. In his first season in Serie A, he only scored 1 goal. This time, 10 goals in 16 matches, going at 0.7 goals per game. That's elite striker level. He's been one of 3 standout players this season, along with Matcha, who supplied him the assist against Juventus. The team have stepped up fantastically to Serie A. Sturm, Dybala, Matcha. Those 3 players outstanding. Sturm, remember, we got for a cut price 300,000 from PSG. 7 goals in Serie A so far this season. Those players' performances contributed to a stunning first half of the season, with only a defeat against Lecce being the disappointment. It meant at that point in December we were somehow top of Serie A. As so often happens, we had a bit of a drop in the second half of the season after the great first half of the season. January and February only brought about 2 victories, but we kept faith with the system. This is the way we play, and the big turnaround started away at Inter Milan, and our man Dybala was there again. From that point in the season, we only lost 2 matches, and we won our last 4 matches against Sassuolo, Torino, Venezia and Udinese. And despite the horrible January and February, we finished at a fantastic 5th position, only missing out on the Champions League by 1 measly point. And do you know what? The way we play, only conceding 48 goals at the top level in Italy, I'm really happy with that. A stunning first season back in Serie A. Even more interestingly, if you go to the XG table, with the amount of chances we created, we should have been a top 3 side. Matcha has gone to another level, now valued between 31 and 35 million. He ends the season with 10 goals, 14 assists. And remember, he cost me 350,000. Dybala quietened off a little bit in the second half of the season, but still finishes with 14 goals. And it was Sturm who really stepped up, finishing as the top scorer, 17 goals from central midfield. This tactic might be risky, but it's blooming entertaining. And don't forget, there is an away version as well, where we drop the mentality down to positive, and one of the advanced centre-backs holds his position as a ball-playing centre-back. But for a team that was expected to be relegation battlers, to nearly qualify for the Champions League is a great result. And do you know what? The scouts still refuse to take days off because they're still throwing out A+ recommendations. I think it's fair to say that Sampdoria are back, and say what you want about FM26, but I'm enjoying the fact something like this can work so well, producing beautiful football. And what really helped it, I think, was having a super basic out of possession setup as well.